Good morning, everybody. Americans for Prosperity Wisconsin State Director Megan Novak is joining us for a chat today, Thursday, April 4th, 2024. For DrydenWire.com, I'm Ben Dryden, and you're watching DrydenWire Live, presented by, wait for it, Americans for Prosperity Wisconsin. That's fantastic. We should just do this every week. AFP Wisconsin works to reignite the American dream to break down government barriers that hold us back from our full potential. Find an event near you at AFP-Wisconsin.com and join AFP to fight for more freedom for all Wisconsinites. Megan, good morning. Hey, welcome back to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I like the idea of every week. We should do that.
Yeah, this is fantastic. Neighbors. And if anyone has any questions about, hey, what is an AFP Wisconsin? Well, the state director's on. So, hey, actually, you were on a year ago, but just for a quick recap for people, maybe explain to some that may not know, what is AFP Wisconsin?
Absolutely. AFP Wisconsin is the premier grassroots organization in our entire state, and AFP is the premier grassroots organization in our country. And so we educate and activate citizens, voters, people who might not even be old enough to vote yet, but who care about policy issues. We educate them on what is going on in state government and the federal government, and then how they can use their voice to make a policy change and an impact. So whether that's contacting their legislator, starting their own grassroots campaign, maybe getting them the skills to run for local office at some point, all of the above, we really try to mobilize and educate citizens on the issues that impact them every day, and how government is really making those decisions that, people are busy living their lives and going to the grocery store and picking up their kids and going to soccer practice or whatever it might be. And we're here to make sure that they know what government is up to on a daily basis to hold them accountable.
So we'll start right there. What is going on right now in government that people should be aware of? Is it all the things that they see on TV and on the news? Is that what's going on? Or are there other things that are going on that, I'm not saying that isn't happening, but you should also be paying attention to a few other things?
There's so much more going on than what's in the news. So we really focus, and I focus a lot on state government. Our state legislature is adjourned for the rest of the year. They will not be coming back until January of 2025 after the elections. So anything going on right now in state government is really Governor Evers and his administration. So executive orders that he might put out, new administrative rules and regulations that the agencies are trying to do. There's some open appointments for agency heads that Governor Evers will have to make. DNR is a big one. And because the legislature is adjourned, normally the Senate has to confirm his appointments for those agencies. Those people will get to serve as interim secretaries until the Senate takes action when they come back in 2025. So there's actually not a lot going on in far as state government right now, just because the legislature's done for the year and they're wrapped up with their business.
Is that because of the election cycle?
Yeah,
or is it normal? I guess I haven't really been paying attention. When do they usually wrap up on a non-election cycle? Because I'd assume that in an election cycle, everybody, Republicans, Democrats, be back in your districts, talk to your people. There's parades. You're running for office. Most people will be running for office. Well, obviously, everyone in the assembly. So is that kind of the reason, or is this it's normal by April? It's like a 4-month job, maybe 3.
So in the odd years, they work basically the full year, the full 12 months. They're meeting kind of, they take breaks in the summer after the budget is passed, break over Christmas, but operate more in a full-time calendar. And then historically, in an election year, in that even numbered year, when they come back, they're usually done by March or April.
Sure.
Up. So.
And when does AFP Wisconsin start looking at the some of the state elections, kind of start paying attention to that being an election cycle? Is it already? We just had an election a couple days ago, but probably not yet. You're probably waiting until, a little further along down the line. If so, when is that, and what does that look like?
We're still trying to figure out all the map lines. I mean, it's kind of...
Hey, thank you. I still can't.
The new maps and trying to remember the new district numbers and everything. But we are really looking at the people who are running again. A lot of people are still making announcements that are incumbents on whether or not they're going to run again. So nomination papers, you can start circulating for signatures for the fall on April 15th. So that'll really tell us a lot once we start seeing those signatures go out the door. And people trying to get on the ballot really inform us of who we will be looking at and talking to, and who are our principled freedom fighters that we might endorse.
Well, I'm glad that it's just finally finished. To be honest, like to the point where, like, I don't even care what they are. Just let's just have one so we can all move forward.
I know.
Yeah. You're also doing, so we publish a weekly, like kind of like an AFP blog type thing about your bus tour across Wisconsin. And you guys did that last year too. So again, for people who haven't seen those yet, explain what is this bus tour about?
Right, man. The year number changes, but everything stays the same. Apparently, for AFP. We have been engaging in a multi-year campaign called Prosperity is Possible. And what we're doing is we are trying to get out in front of the average voter in Wisconsin and in a couple other states in the country and talk to them about why the economy is so bad right now. And then more importantly, what are the solutions that our federally elected officials should be looking at to improve the economy, to make lives a little bit easier for all of us. So whether that's really narrowing down government spending, stopping these $1 trillion+ spending sprees that they're going on because printing government money is driving up inflation, unleashing American energy. So, some permitting reforms so that those energy projects to use the resources that we have in America to unleash natural gas, oil can actually move forward. So we're not reliant on other countries, including a lot of our adversaries, for our energy, which should drive down the cost of your gas bill, your natural gas tank, all of the above. And then worker freedom. One of the big things is, I don't know if you followed it at all, it's called the Democrats out in DC tried to pass the PRO Act, which would basically make independent contractors illegal. They would have to become employees. And that's millions of Americans. Yeah. Yeah. So they couldn't get it through Congress. So guess what the Biden administration did? They're doing it through.
Okay.
Oh, I should have waited a second longer. You were about to get.
That's so. I actually didn't know anything about that. So they would that would be the independent contractors, even like 1099s.
Yep.
Holy cow. For small businesses, specifically one small business I could think of, just a random one. Holy cow. Like, I couldn't afford that. Like, we would never be able to have we rely on that, actually. If we had to have actually full-time employees, I don't know if we'd be able to stay in business, to be honest. That's crazy. I didn't know that. So where are we on that? Is it actually going to happen?
Yeah, they're implementing the rule through the Department of Labor. There'll be certain independent contractors that can continue, but for a lot of those people who are making that decision, whether it's a small business like yours and bringing people on for a little project, or people who drive for Uber or Lyft or DoorDash or whatever those other delivery apps are, they're all independent contractors because they want that flexibility to set their own schedule and do their own work and whatever it is. And they're trying to really roll back and limit independent contractors and force them into full-time employment.
And what is the strategy there? What's the pro? This is why this is a virtue. What is it?
Yeah, the argument that the Biden administration makes is that it is a way to protect workers from being used by big evil corporations.
Okay.
I mean, that might not be their exact words, but that's how I'm going to.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Wow, I did not know that was happening. I'm gonna have to reach PRO Act. Is that what is actually going to be done, or that's what it was at first, but now it's something else? Is it still under PRO Act? If I googled it,
that was the bill name, and now it's an administrative rule. I can send you a link to kind of a study on how many people it affects, what it's actually about, and then you can share it with all of your wonderful.
I certainly will. I certainly will. So where have you gone so far, and what kind of reaction? So you did this bus tour, the Prosperity is Possible, last year. You went all across the state. I think you were in, I may be misremembering. I thought you went to almost every county, or maybe every county. I can't remember. Or at least the majority, wasn't it?
It was a lot of counties. I don't think we made it to all of them, but we were in pretty much every county in the state.
So now this year, doing it again, I don't know if you're going to the same places. Whether you are or not, I guess is irrelevant. Are you getting the same response as last year, or has anything changed?
We kicked things off again kind of middle of January, really focusing on grocery stores and restaurants and small businesses. So providing a little inflation relief to their customers and then being able to talk to them about those solutions we talked about. Um, it's getting even worse. I think when I came on last time, I really talked about, especially at the grocery store events, that people were just really struggling with the price of food, and it has not improved and it's only gotten worse. And I think for me, one of the really frustrating things is that you hear a lot of people saying, like, no, 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 inflation is way better. It's down to like 2%. That's normal. People are doing fine. And what they really leave out is that inflation is compounding. Like, okay, great, this month was 2%, but let's go back to the last 4 years, going back to 2020 and 2021, and how much inflation has gone up, especially on food, and then compare that to wages. The average American is paying $11,400 more per year to live their same exact life than they were in 2021.
But it's not as bad as last year, is what you hear.
But it's not as bad. But from the actual people and voters, like, they're coming in and they're saying, holy, like, we
Yeah.
ran out. We were at one of our grocery store events in Oostburg, which is over by Sheboygan on Lake Michigan. We were giving out gift cards at a grocery store there. We ran out. We had 100 gift cards. We ran out in less than 15 minutes
And there's gift cards that people can use at that grocery
at
store.
that grocery store just to help them out a little bit, and then they can hear some solutions. And that, I mean, that's how desperate people are for just a little relief in
Yeah.
their weekly, monthly, however they grocery shop bill.
Do you think some of the responses that you get, or people that say that it's not as bad or doesn't seem as bad this year as last year, is a kind of complacency isn't the right word, but it's the status quo. Like, we don't see it going up as drastically as we did in the past, and it's certainly leveled, but prices aren't going down. But maybe it's just that, well, they're not that much more this year than they were last year. So that
I
kind
think
of
it's,
makes it seem like, well, it's inflation is better than last year when it's, well, it isn't better. It's just as bad. It just isn't such a contrast from the year before that, for example.
yeah, I think there's some people who have kind of adjusted their family budget and are able to make it work. Or there's people who are just trying to, frankly, make it a little bit, trying to cover on a political front and saying, no, no, the economy's better. Don't worry about it as we get closer and closer to November. And once again, the
Mm.
most important election of our lifetime, because every every election seems to be the most important
The most,
election of our
yes.
lifetime. So
Yep.
I think it's a combination of both.
That's kind of a tough sell, though, isn't it? When inflation isn't that bad and it's actually going well. When it's yes, but I'm looking at the price of the things I'm purchasing right in front of me. So you say this, but I'm looking at this. I mean, it's a tough sell, right?
Yes, it is. And you can just even, like, when I go to the grocery store to do my family grocery shopping, one of the things I've really started to notice, and I don't know if you've noticed the same, Ben, is the number of generic items. I buy almost all of generic. There is only one product that I will not buy the generic of, and that's peanut butter. I am a Jif girl. I just cannot move to
Got it.
generic. It's
Got
who
it.
I am.
Yep.
But everything else I buy generic, and generic is almost completely sold out all the time now. I mean, name brand is stocked all the way back on the shelf, but the generics, which are a little bit cheaper, are constantly sold out. And like that to me is one of the number one indicators of how much people are still struggling.
We have a comment here from Michelle. Car insurance 23 to 34 is up 20. Good night. 20, almost 21%. Jeepers. Good thing I'm
No,
over.
thank
Good thing I'm not that young anymore. Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah,
Oh,
and the
and yeah,
gas
who
powered,
wants to ban gas-powered cars?
but not ban them. I thought it was just promoting all the electrical cars.
Moving towards a ban so that you would be forced into buying an electric vehicle in the next few years.
That's
Those
tough, especially in northern Wisconsin. I mean, those batteries don't work as well as they do down in Texas, I don't think.
It's cold, which drains your batteries, and how much further you have to drive for everything.
Yeah,
What,
and I
you're
don't,
going to go to the grocery store and charge while you're grocery shopping so you can
uh,
get back home? Like,
yeah. Michelle said 23 to 24. Got it. Okay. Well, still, those poor get 21%. That's ridiculous. Yeah, and honestly, the biggest thing I've always wondered about that, and I don't have the answer to it, is where do you take the car to get it fixed? So when you live in rural northwest Wisconsin, like everybody knows, like even the person I go to, his name's Tony. Now, he doesn't have a shop. It's not called some mechanic shop. He's not even listed in the phone book. You got to know a guy that knows a guy that you get his phone number from, and he has a shop, but he doesn't promote it anywhere. It's a local shop, and he does vehicle work. Well, if I wanted let's say I could afford a fancy car, I don't know, a BMW or a Mercedes. Nobody around here could really even buy them, even if you could afford them, because where do you take it to get it fixed? There's no dealership around here, and your local shops don't understand a lot of the technology that are in those new fancy cars, so you have to drive to like the cities just to get an oil change because it's so weird. So if we get electric cars here, even if we could charge them all, and let's say they all work magically, where do we take them to get them fixed? Like nobody around here knows how to work on an electrical car.
Great question. And what do you do? How do you recycle the battery when it dies after 4 or 5 years?
I don't know. I'm not against electric car, right?
Oh,
It's fine. I don't care. But I have a lot of questions about how does this like work in the real world? And they're still really, really expensive.
they're not all-wheel drive, which is one of the big concerns I have.
Oh,
When we had our second kid, we bought a minivan for
yeah.
me, which is the dream car. Everyone should have a minivan.
I love those things.
It's
I'm
so
trying to get
great.
my wife to get one. And I'm sorry. I think what you heard is I wanted to get a minivan for my wife. No, what I'm saying is I wanted a minivan because I love them, but she won't even let me get one. She's like, no, you're not driving a minivan. And I'm like, those things are awesome.
They're so good.
I
I love
know.
my minivan, but they had a hybrid version and a full gas version. And I was like, oh, hybrid would be nice, save a little bit of money on gas. They
Yeah.
don't come in all-wheel drive. And I was like, well, every time I talk to you, Ben, I'm stuck in a
In a
snowstorm.
snowstorm. We were talking about right before we went live. You were telling me about you came from somewhere, and it seems like every time we talk offline, you're in the snowstorm driving somewhere. Yeah, no, all-wheel drive that's kind of that's so wildly important. Again, I can only speak for Northwest Wisconsin. I'm not speaking for everybody, but I think we can all agree that all-wheel drive is so wildly important in our area. Four-wheel drive, sure, but all-wheel drive, really, that's legit. My wife has a Dodge Journey, all-wheel drive. That's the only thing she'll drive now is an all-wheel drive vehicle because it's so much safer on the roads. I didn't know that electrical vehicles, like some must come in all-wheel drive, right?
But a lot don't.
I suppose it takes too much
Where
power.
the battery is, like where they place the battery, I think is where you normally.
Oh,
I am not a mechanic or a car person, so if
no.
someone is listening and I'm completely wrong, please call me out on it. But I think that's why is because where the battery and all of that stuff has to go is where normally the all-wheel drive mechanic.
Sure. Is there, and maybe we're getting out on a whole other thing here right now, but if, let's say, a current president, in this case Biden, and they executive orders or through kind of force certain things through that we're going to, for example, ban gas-powered cars, make everyone get by 2034 and 10 years from now or something. We're just going to make this legal. But if the next guy or girl, but next guy gets in office and is like, whether it's Republican or Democrat, says, no, I don't like this. They can just overdo that, right? Overturn that. So do we really know what's going to happen in 10 years? Because that seems like I'd be hard pressed to think like every single president is like, yes, let's do it. It's a great idea. I feel like that may not last.
Yeah, my understanding is that when a new president takes office, there is a like the first 90 days or something, or 60 days, they're able to go and review all previous executive orders and do a bunch of repeals. I think that's what Biden did when he took office with a lot of Trump's executive orders on the border.
Oh
Is he
right. Oh right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I kind of feel like that one might make the list.
maybe.
I kind of. I don't know. We'll tune in and find out, I guess.
I'll be back.
Michelle says, "In the power to charge with the right of first refusal issues meant how much more our bills." Hey, I'm so glad she brought that up. Michelle, boy, you should just come on the show. You should just host this thing. This would be so much better, Michelle, if you were just hosting it. And I can just comment. The right of first refusal, that was a big thing in Wisconsin. And I think at the last minute it didn't get passed, right?
You are right. It died.
No, that was a big thing that nobody really was talking about.
Yeah, it was a huge bill. So I will try and do like the 2-minute version for your listeners.
Perfect.
So essentially what is happening is there is billions of dollars of new transmission line projects that are coming to Wisconsin. And a lot of it is to bring the new investments and the over reliance that we have on wind and solar. that can only really be produced in rural areas. So we need more transmission lines to get the power from the rural areas that are producing the energy to urban areas, Milwaukee, Madison, Chicago, et cetera. So we need a whole bunch of new transmission lines to be able to do that. And so there are 3 providers right now in Wisconsin that own transmission lines. They were seeking a bill that would have said all these new billions of dollars of projects that come through, they would be the only ones that would get the projects. No one else could bid on them. And it is an automatic, they get them no matter what. No bidding process or anything to go through. They just get the project. AFP, obviously, we like freedom and competition and the free market. And so we immediately opposed it, saying that absolutely we cannot be just giving these billions of dollars of projects away without a bid. We need that competitive bidding process to drive down costs. There's almost 50 companies that are qualified to build these around the country that could come and do it, including, this is the most interesting thing that I like to bring up, is that the company that owns the nuclear power plant, Wisconsin, NextEra Energy, they separately are the largest transmission line builder in the entire country. They would have been excluded from building transmission lines in Wisconsin. We trust them to operate a nuclear power plant. They can build transmission lines anywhere else and are the biggest one in the country, but they would have been boxed out in Wisconsin because these incumbent current providers didn't want the competition, because if there is competition, they would have had to, actually sharpen their pencils and maybe taken a cut on their profit or something. And they didn't want to do that. They just wanted the projects and the profit right on the backs of utility ratepayers.
Okay, so this how does somebody look at this? And except there were a lot of people that were all thought this was a great idea, actually, Republicans and Democrats. I had seen that were for, hey, this is a really, really good idea, which is opposite of where your guys' stance were on this. What was their reasoning for that? What was their justification for, actually, this is pretty good, and we should actually do this, and here's why.
Yeah, so I think there were 2 separate in favor arguments, depending on if you were a Republican or a Democrat. So for Democrats, a lot of it was the unions were supportive because they were the ones who would be getting the projects to build. And so unions are often, and Democrats often are hand in hand on policy issues. So a lot of the Democrat support came from wanting to support the unions' support of the bill and that work. For a lot of Republicans, they were supporting it for really 2 reasons. Their big arguments were, 1, they wanted to maintain state control over federal control, because through the competitive bidding process, it would go through MISO, which is the Midwest Interoperability System Organization. They operate the Midwest
Sounds
grid.
right.
Right. They operate the Midwest grid, and they would oversee the bidding process, even though our PSC, Public Service Commission, would still maintain siting of where the actual transmission line would go. And their other argument in favor is that there was an argument that the current incumbent providers would be able to cost shift some of their operation and maintenance costs to other states within that Midwest region. And because of that, we don't need competitive bidding. My response to that was, if that's true and they can save us money, wouldn't that be reflected in a competitive bid then? And then they should have a leg up and win that bid. But I'd like to know for sure. I like transparency.
You just got crickets? Right? Nobody really answered that one? So that was an interesting bill because it seemed as though it was a little bit divided with Republicans. I had noticed even some in our area that I had called and asked, hey, just out of curiosity. It wasn't like for DrydenWire. I was just curious myself, where do you kind of stand on this? And some were like, yay. And some were like, absolutely not. And if I recall, didn't it pass the Assembly?
Yep, the Assembly.
And then it came to the Senate, and it was like, okay, because I think Evers is probably going to sign this if it goes through. So what's going to happen? And I think it was kind of at the last minute, maybe even the last day of the session or something crazy like that. It came down to the, no pun intended, came down to the wire. Mm-hmm. If I recall, that's what happened, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. So when the bill came back over to the Senate after the Assembly passed it, they literally carried the bill from one house to the other. It's crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they still do it really old school. And so the Senate President, Senator Kapenga, who was opposed to the right of first refusal bill and was, pro free market, he referred that bill to one of the Senate committees on energy and natural resources. And because it was referred to a committee where it had not had a hearing, it would have taken a 2/3 vote of the Senate to pull it out of committee and bring it to the floor for a vote. And they did not have 2/3 of the entire body to be able to do that.
So is this a kicking the can? Is it going to come back up again?
I imagine it'll come back. These projects take a really long time to build. They are not, overnight. All of a sudden, we've got massive transmission lines popping up. It's, each project is probably 5 years or so from start to completion, or even longer. And so I think as there's more projects coming through, because they're gonna release different tranches of projects as they continue to come through. We're gonna see this bill come back each time because it's a huge incentive for the incumbents to be guaranteed the projects for their profit and their bottom line.
Yeah. This was a statement from Jonathan. I think this may have been earlier. Maybe we were talking about the vehicle still. I just happened to notice it. Market uncertainty caused by regulation will have irreversible damage to auto producers. What are your thoughts on that, Megan?
I completely agree. This is the problem when government intervenes in the free market, and then the free market can't work. We've got President Biden.
Like that alone, that sentence alone should just make everybody laugh.
We've got President Biden saying, okay, we're going to have to move everyone to EVs. We have an election in a couple months coming up. Maybe Biden wins, maybe he doesn't. So for the people who are actually making the vehicles and doing that long-term strategy of what products do we need to source, and then for all of their companies that source the products, and the entire supply chain going back down the line to say, okay, are we exclusively going to be building EVs or are we not? Because you see right now they really invested in EVs, and I don't know if you've gone and driven past. Sometimes we like on Sundays when the dealerships are closed and we need a free activity, we'll just go drive around and look at cars.
Hey, welcome to the club. We all do it. It's a Wisconsin tradition on Sundays. Church and looking at cars. That's what we do.
I'm glad I'm normal then.
That's what we do.
Some people think it's weird.
Nope.
The number of, especially trucks, when I know Ford made a huge push on EV F-150s, the Lightnings, I think they're called. Man, that's like the only car on the lot some days. It's like a dozen of them. No one wants it. And so that's the market sending a signal to Ford of, no, maybe it's not time for EVs for pickup trucks.
Sure.
Pickup truck guys, maybe they're cool with hybrids, but they're not ready for EVs because of the whatever work they're doing and how they use their trucks. But then you have government trying to create false signals into the free market and dictate what companies are producing. And that is not good. I don't like it.
My mom used to own a restaurant when I was growing up, just a small little, small town little restaurant. It's called Diane's Kitchen. I think it had like 10 booths, like one of those kind of restaurants. It was just awesome. But she had always said that when she would make that week's specials, and you could have, chicken with potatoes and some kind of vegetable, I'm just making some of this up. But she said we could put it all together and say this all works perfectly together. But I trained all the wait staff to always pay attention to, when you clean off the table and you take the plates, look to see what's still on the plate. If we're seeing the same things on the plate all the time, then this is not a good combination. So it may look like it's a good combination. It may, on paper, be a good combination. But if you're bringing that back constantly and throwing it away, nobody wants to eat that. So why are we forcing them to eat it? Or not forcing, but we're giving it to them with their meal when they're not even eating it. So it's a waste of our time and money to spend because they're not eating it. So that reminds me of the analogy there of the Ford, the trucks. That's the one that's left over on the plate. Well, it's not because we have a surplus of these and we're making so many. It's nobody wants them. That's why they're there.
Exactly. I think a lot of restaurants are dealing with that with the impossible meat. Is that what it's called?
Oh, right. Improbable. Maybe it is Impossible Burger.
Yeah.
Improbable burger. That's probably not it. Not very likely burger. I think it is.
I want to pretend like I'm eating meat, but not eat meat.
I've never had one of those. Have you?
No.
Just kind of find out I like, meat.
Yeah. As nature intended.
I love having you on. Oh my goodness. Is there anything that we could talk, all day? And we should get you back on sooner than later. Maybe we won't do weekly, but in a month or two, come back on, especially as we get a little bit closer to the election stuff. Is there anything that you did want to make sure we talked about that we didn't get a chance to yet?
Trying to think of the list I sent you. I think we covered
Oh, yeah.
most of it, my ideas. I mean, one of my ideas was a monologue of my favorite hotspot items at Quick Trip because I
Yeah,
am
I
on
was. Just to be clear, I sent you a text that, "Hey, what do you want to talk about?" And you put "end of legislation session?" question mark. Prosperity is possible events question mark. Oh, you were up in Superior. We should talk about that. I saw a photo of you up there with Romaine and stuff. The joys of I don't know if it was the joys of not living in Dane County anymore question mark. My new favorite activity of meal planning to try and save money on groceries question mark. And full review of some new Quick Trip food items. Like, where did that come from? Is that
I
joking, or did you want to talk about new Quick Trip items?
I probably eat more than I should. I would say probably 3 meals a week are Quick Trip hotspot meals, just because I'm on the road so
Yeah.
much, going to all these events and stuff. So I do have a passion for gas station food because as someone who eats at a lot
Okay.
of gas stations, I know what's good and what's not good. So
So does Quick Trip, and there's a Quick Trip everywhere. I mean, at this point, there's going to be a sign when you enter Spooner, because now we have two of them, and we only have like 2,000 people in Spooner. It should be just Spooner, brought to you by Quick Trip. I mean, as soon as we get another one, they're just going to own the town, which is fine because Quick Trip literally is awesome. So,
yeah.
is there some new items that you recommend if you go to Quick Trip to stop in and check out?
Okay, so it's not so new. I think they've had them for a year, but the mini tacos that they have, I don't know if you've had them yet. They're not
No.
always in stock, but they are so good, and you can get a little sour cream in the refrigerator section to dip in. They are absolutely phenomenal. They're probably my favorite. They have a new breakfast, like chicken sausage flatbread that I really liked. And I'm not normally a chicken sausage person, but it was pretty good. Probably 7 out of 10 in my opinion.
Chicken sausage?
Yeah, yeah. So it's like a sausage patty, but it's chicken, not pork.
Oh,
But it's on a flatbread, which I really liked.
yeah.
Uh,
Hmm.
and then I saw the other day. I was driving, so I didn't get it. But they had a chicken pot pie in the hot
What?
spot. Yeah, it looked so good, and I was like, okay,
Oh,
well, I can't drive and eat a chicken pot pie
that's tough. That's two hands.
in a snowstorm. Like if it wasn't snowing, I might try it, but
Right.
in a snowstorm, it's not good. So that is on my list to try. I will try and get one in the next month or two before I come back on, so I can provide a full review of the
Right. So real quick, Superior. I saw you were up there. I recognize some of the people that are next to you. Representative Angie Sapek, I saw, was on the stage. Congressman Tiffany, Romaine Quinn. I think those are the ones I remember, at least remember recognizing. What was that about?
Yeah, so we went up to Superior last week because there is a new natural gas plant that Dairyland Co-op is trying to build in Superior. It's NTEC is the acronym. I don't remember the full name, but it's a new natural gas plant that is crucial to providing affordable and reliable energy. Again, going back to that topic of we need to unleash American energy production to bring down costs and increase reliability. And so they have gone through 14 state and federal agencies through two presidential administrations that have all approved this project and said, yes, we need it and it's environmentally sound. We should move forward. In order to build the project, they need a zoning permit and they need one other permit from the city of Superior. It's to like move a road or something. And the Superior mayor is holding up this project and saying, absolutely not. I will not
Oh,
grant these permits. And so we went up there, myself, AFP, and Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce, which is the state chamber, joined Dairyland, and then Congressman Tiffany, Senator Quinn, and Representative Sapek saying, we need this project and we need the economic boon that's going to come with it. We need that affordable and reliable energy, and we should not let government at any level, especially a single person in government, hold up an incredible project that's going to bring jobs to the region and affordable and reliable
you
energy.
said it was the
Like,
mayor?
yeah.
Man,
And a little bit the city council, but mostly a lot is the
these
mayor.
small town mayors that have. Not that Superior is small town, because it's a decent sized city.
Mm.
But I don't know. Sometimes just champion like the successes of your city, will you? Let your team do their jobs. I'm just saying.
And there's
This isn't New York City. You're a small town mayor. Just stay out of
right.
people's way and say
There's great
attaboy. And what can I do to help you? That's
yeah,
it. Just do that.
yeah, huge support for it from the people who live in Superior too. Like it is just bonkers. So we're just trying to really draw attention to the issue because I think it's flown. I mean, as you know, all of Northwest Wisconsin, because without DrydenWire, you guys would only get Minnesota news, sadly. So,
Well, we still have our local papers do a great job. It's
yeah.
just that it's weekly is all.
Right.
So,
And we went up there to just really try and bring attention to it and bring kind of a bigger crowd and saying like, hey, Superior and the surrounding area, you need to get involved and really the grassroots momentum to urge your mayor to support this project. Because he did support it back in 2018, because that's how long it takes to go through these permitting and approval processes with the
2
state.
presidents, 14 agencies, you said? I mean, that's a
Yes.
lot of years. And then
Right.
all of a sudden get to this far and no.
That's something. Sorry.
Did they want something?
I
In
mean,
return, is that it? It's okay, I'm just holding this up just so I get what I want. I want a new, I don't know, something. Just give us this and then I'll approve it. Is there anything at all or a reason that they're holding it up?
doesn't seem like it. It's just that his latest comments were that he basically doesn't believe that businesses bring any benefit to the city of Superior.
That can't be, no, that's, you're paraphrasing because there's no way a mayor would actually think that. It's impossible. Businesses don't bring it. That cannot be accurate. I'm going to fact check that one because that cannot be accurate. Because if that's true, that mayor should not have a job. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, this project is like 300 jobs
Oh,
for Superior. That's incredible.
man, that's just funny. I don't know if it's because I'm sick or what, but that was really funny. That cannot be right. That cannot be right. Oh, man. Okay. Well, we'll have you back on in a couple of months.
Sounds good.
I'll fact check that. I'll see if I can find a quote from a mayor saying that businesses are not good for my city.
And I'm going to send you information on that PRO Act with the independent contractors because that's
Perfect. No, I would like to know. And then what I'll do is when I finish this, we load it into YouTube, and then I put it on a website in a few hours. And by then, I'll be able to put in that information into that article on our website about today's show. So we'll have it for anyone that wants to read it there as well.
perfect.
Awesome. Megan, as always, it's a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Yeah, feel better.
Oh, thank you. Special thank you to Americans for Prosperity Wisconsin State Director Megan Novak for joining us for a chat today. I'll see you right back here on Tuesday when Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald and I'll be on for our latest episode of Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy. I think this week we'll be joined by the Highway Commissioner in Barron County as well. Will be our special guest. So until then, for DrydenWire.com, I'm Ben Dryden saying thank you for watching and as always have a blessed day.